Good evening, Tiger fans, and welcome to On the Prowl to share with you, so let's get going.
All right, we'll jump right in with the most exciting and captivating sport here on campus. That would be rowing. The rowing team traveled up to Leonia, New Jersey this past weekend to take on Columbia and Princeton, Princeton being the 8th ranked rowing team in the country. Clemson picked up second place finishes in both the 4-person crew races, third place finishes in both the 8-person crew races. So not a bad performance overall by our Tigers. The other Tigers, the Princeton Tigers, won all 4 races in the meet by an average of 24 seconds, so really not all that close. Some tricky conditions up in New Jersey this past weekend. There were some 20-mile-an-hour head days, so that did make racing a bit tougher, but overall not a bad performance at all by our Tigers. They will be back in action this Saturday and Sunday at the Natoma.
So in baseball news, the Tigers moved up one to number 4 in this week's USA Today poll, and they've also moved up to number 5 in the Baseball America poll and Collegiate Baseball poll. Clemson, 24-5 overall and 10-2 in the ACC, won 4 out of 5 games last week, including 2 out of the 3 against Georgia Tech last weekend. Number 4 Clemson was the highest ranking since it was ranked number 4 in the Collegiate Baseball poll on March 7th, 2011. It marks the 15th week in a row dating back to last year that the Tigers were ranked in the top 25 of at least one that Tigers have been ranked in the top 10 by Baseball America. Clemson, who is 23-3 in its last 26 games, plays a night road game tonight at 7 p.m. against Georgia before returning home to face Virginia Tech over the weekend. The Tigers are averaging about 6.3 runs per game and hitting 276 with a 390 on-base percentage and 29 steals. Last Tuesday, our Clemson Tigers shut Furman out 8-0. This was Clemson's 3rd shutout win. Tyler Jackson earned the win by pitching 6 innings and allowing only 5 hits, no runs, and 1 walk with 4 strikeouts. Weston Jackson added a 3-run homer in the 7th inning. That was his 4th long ball of the year and in the 8th inning. On Wednesday, the Tigers took on the Winthrop Eagles, and won 6-5. The season in the 7th inning to give the Tigers the lead. However, Winthrop responded by scoring another unearned run in the 9th inning to tie up the score. The game was tied until the bottom of the 11th inning when Reed Rollman hit a walk-off single with 2 outs that scored Weston Jackson. The Tigers headed to Atlanta to play Georgia Tech in a 3-game series this past weekend. On Friday, Clemson won 11-6. The Tigers scored 5 2-out runs in the 4th inning and added 3 more runs in the 6th inning. Grayson Bird led off the top of the 3rd inning with his first career home run. Pitcher Charlie Barnes earned the win for the Tigers by only allowing 6 hits, 3 runs, and 1 walk with 7 strikeouts in the 5 innings he pitched. The series continued won by Georgia Tech's true freshman pitcher Jay Shadday, who only allowed 5 runs in 6 innings pitched. He suffered the loss as he gave up 8 hits, 5 runs, and no walks with 4 strikeouts. The Tigers ended up winning the series on Sunday by scoring 13 runs in the first 2 innings, sparked by a grand slam and 3-run homer by Reed Rollman. They defeated Tech 12-6 and improved their ACC record to 10-2. Pat Prowl earned the win for the Tigers by allowing 6 hits, 2 runs, 3 walks, and 6 strikeouts in only 6 innings. The Tigers are returning to Georgia tonight to face the Bulldogs at 7 p.m. Reed Rollman was actually named ACC Player of Tech and Winthrop last week. This marks the 3rd week in a row that a Tiger has been honored by the ACC.
This past Saturday, in the track and field front, at the 90th Texas Relays, Clemson's Rebecca Smith produced one of the school's top times in the 100-meter dash. Smith, just a freshman, tied the 8th best time in Clemson history after clocking a time of 11.37 seconds in the 100-meter invitational section. She finished 4th overall. Sabrina Hadley competed in both short sprints Saturday, taking 2nd in the 200 meters with a time of 23.24 seconds and 5th in the collegiate section of the 100 meters with a time at 11.53 seconds. The 4x8 teams. The women's group produced a time of 8 minutes and 0.41 seconds, taking 2nd behind LSU dramatic win, holding off Texas A&M at the finish line with 7 minutes, 0.28 seconds. The day ended with the 4x400 relays, and the Clemson men turned in a solid effort in 5th place. The team finished with a time of 3 minutes and 6 seconds, a season best for the Tigers.
Nice.
On Friday, triple jumper Ayanna Amsterdam performed her personal best with a mark of 44 feet, 10.75 inches. Amsterdam's mark ranks 3rd in the Clemson record books.
Not bad at all.
She was not the only field athlete with the win on Friday, as Angelica Collins won the B flight with the long jump with mark of 20.1 with the wind-aided mark. The women's distance medley relay team earned wins Friday at the 90th Texas Relay. Ursula Farrow, Olivia James, Lakeisha Warner, and Grace Barnett combined for a winning time of 11 minutes and 14 seconds, coasting to an easy victory over Northern Illinois and the host, Texas Longhorns. The time established a Clemson record for the distance medley relay, more than 14 seconds better than the previous mark set last season. The men's sprint medley relay also earned a top 5 finish Friday with a time of 3 minutes and 21 seconds. The Tigers return to action next week in Athens, Georgia for the Spec Towns Invitational.
Another great week for our track team.
We got some fast people around here.
We sure do.
As well, our men's and women's tennis team are on the full week combined. Our men went 0-2 with a 6-1 loss in Blacksburg at Virginia Tech. They also lost to champions. I didn't know that until I started Googling around earlier. They lost by a touchdown to the Cavaliers, 7-0. Alex Favreau was the only bright spot in the match with Virginia Tech. He beat the number one at the number 1 slot, I should say, for Virginia Tech. So that means Alex Favreau is our number 1 overall singles player. He beat the number 82 ranked singles player in the country and Virginia Tech's number 1 overall singles player in straight sets, 7-6, 6-4. That would drop the Tigers to 8-11 overall, 1-5 in the ACC with those 2 match losses in the past week. They have 2 matches this weekend coming up. They have one Friday at noon versus UNC at the Hope Sloan Tennis Center, and then they play against Sunday at noon against Duke. And another 0-2 week. They lost 6-1 at number 26 ranked NC State, and then they lost 5-2 at number 17 ranked Duke. Only bright spots: Alexandra Leduc. I'm trying to say a French accent.
Very nice.
Could be wrong. She upset the number 55 ranked singles player in the country in straight sets, 6-4, 6-4. And then in the Duke match, the doubles team of Fernanda Navarro and Daniela Ruiz won their 5th straight doubles match, I guess I should say.
Some interesting names on our team.
Yeah, I know. This is tough. I'm stumbling through them.
Huh?
They have won 9 of their last 10 overall matches. So again, the only bright spot in an otherwise kind of dim week for the tennis teams. The women's tennis team is 8-10 overall, 3-6 in the ACC. They play again this Friday at 5 against Virginia. That's their first home match in the last 4 matches.
Wow. So on the women's golf front, the Clemson Invitational at the Friday, the 17-team tournament, that's a lot of teams, included 3 of the top 10 teams, 7 of the top 30 team players in the nation.
I bet I could beat all of them in putt-putt.
Maybe you could. After the first day, Clemson stood at 10th place with a team score of 298. Sydney Legacy shot just one under par for the Tigers, and the Paladins of Furman led all teams with a first-round score of 285, and they're 8th ranked in the nation.
Oh, not too shabby.
Michigan State followed close behind, and the Florida Gators took 3rd. On the second day of the tournament, the Tigers scored 290 to put them in 8th place in the first, while Florida State took 2nd and stayed put at 3rd. Legacy stood on a tie for 8th holes. Unranked in the latest golf rankings, Legacy was ahead of 20 of the top 100 players in the nation. The junior from Lexington, South Carolina, had 5 birdies on Saturday. On Sunday, the final day of the tournament, the Tigers finished in 9th place as a team. Florida State ended up winning the tournament, beating 8th place Furman by 2. Alice Hewson had a big day for Clemson. The sophomore played in the front 9 and 3 under par 33, thanks to birdies on the 4th, 7th, and 9th holes. She chipped in from 15 yards off the green for birdie number 4, and that got her round going. She had recording her best round since scoring 68 on February 7th.
And not only is the Masters this weekend, in football news, game will be this Saturday in Death Valley.
Football is back.
Football is back. Gates will open at 11 a.m. and kickoff will be at 10:30. Admission is free. So round of applause for that. There will be a Tiger Walk at 1 p.m. The Senior National Championship ring ceremony will also be held at 3:30. They will actually be giving 3 rings out. The college football playoff does a ring, then there will be the back-to-back ACC championship ring, and then of course our national championship ring. Lots of bling to be given out on Saturday afternoon.
Can't be too mad about that. To go along with the spring game, since we're talking about it, Mickey Plyler, who hosts the Mickey Plyler Show here in Clemson, he has an article right now on TigerNet on why you should go to the spring game if you're not already planning to, which if you're not already planning to, you're wrong. Reasons why you should attend the spring game. We'll briefly address each of them. Number one is going to be recruiting, and he explains it by saying that last season, new Georgia coach Kirby Smart made it a point to have a full stadium for his first spring game. He even brought in hip-hop star Ludacris for a concert. I don't know if either of y'all remember that. Ludacris made an appearance at the Georgia spring game to try to get people to show up. The reason was recruiting, of course. Georgia's national recruiting power, and Clemson recruits head-to-head with Georgia, one of our biggest recruiting rivals with the close location. These recruits are very impressionable, and a huge crowd in Clemson this Saturday would make another very positive impression. And then if you needed a little more motivation in the recruiting department, this past weekend, the Gamecocks, that burgundy or garnet or whatever the hell their color is, that team in Columbia, they had their spring game this past weekend. They only had 12,000 people show up. Out of the water, 70,000 is a lot bigger than 12,000.
I have faith that we will.
I don't think we should have trouble
especially being the reigning champs. So.
Yeah, no question. I know we told you that Kelly Bryant's the front runner, but nothing is set in stone as far as who's going to be our starter in late August, early September. The staff is still trying to figure out who the starting quarterback will be when we open the season against Kansas State. Of course, we have 4 fighting for the position right now: Kelly Bryant, Zarek Cooper, Hunter Johnson, and Tucker Israel. So he's trying to say if we can get 70,000 people in Death Valley, that'll kind of provide a more realistic game day scenario to see how they'll perform under that kind of pressure.
Makes sense.
Along that same line, we have other competition in different positions. Shaq Smith and Chad Smith are going to be some new linebackers you're going to want to look at. We've also got, he says, some new faces: Xavier Kelly and Niles Pinckney. And some more tight ends fighting to replace Jordan Leggett. So a lot this year, so this will be your first chance to kind of see some of the new guys and get well acquainted with the new names and faces on the team. Lord knows appreciation, and this is just one. This is another chance to showcase our appreciation for the accomplishments in the program. National titles are hard to come by, and this is a chance to the ring presentations and recognizing the seniors and all the festivities that will be going on Saturday. In addition to the spring game itself, it'll just be nice to show up and support our Tigers on the football field in Death Valley for the first time this year. And then finally, reason number 5, it's Clemson and it's going to be a game day. So why aren't you going to want to show up? Am I right? So if you're not planning to go to the spring game this Saturday, you definitely should.
And wear orange.
And that's just a given. You should just always wear orange, unless told otherwise, which you shouldn't be told otherwise.
So speaking of the reigning champs, now we're going to talk about the championship basketball game that we had last night. Obviously, for those of you who actually enjoy sports, you know that.
Enjoy sports. How did you find this show? I'm just saying.
Yeah,
anyway.
Exactly. So just a little fun fact to start talking about this. So it's actually a football team, and the UNC basketball team won the last championship in the same exact season, or not really season, but same general year. Y'all get what I'm saying.
Yeah,
so
I got you.
We won the football championship in 1981, and they won in 1982. Obviously, that would be the following spring.
You got that stat from Tim Beret, didn't you?
Oh, I did. You know I did. So to make it even more interesting, we actually both were in the championship last year as well. Of course, they were playing Villanova, and they lost in a last-second shot, and we were playing Alabama. We all don't want to bring that up again.
Let's not talk about
that. We both won the championship for 2016 and 2017. So I think that's very interesting how those kind of collide a little bit.
Pretty cool. I got a couple other, if you watched it, you a big fat waste of time. Probably the most boring national championship game in quite a while.
Frustrating.
It was just not a fun time. It was not good TV. Just a couple stats. Most of the stats overall were kind of even, except for like 3-point shooting percentage. Carolina shot terribly from behind the arc.
Yeah.
But the main stat that was not even close, and this might have been the determining factor in who won and who lost, number of turnovers. Gonzaga had 14 turnovers last night. UNC only had 4. So that's kind of an important stat. You ask any basketball coach, he's going to say that's probably why they lost. A big reason the game sucked, and I'm not saying that just because I don't care for either team and I didn't care about the game itself. Everybody kind of agrees the game sucked. It's because there was no flow to it. It was never fun to watch simply because there were too many fouls. It was you can blame the refs to an extent, but after a while, it's the players who are making it just as bad. There were 22 team fouls for each team. That's a couple minutes in the entire game. So that's an average of more than a foul a minute. For those of you that like
that's
math.
a lot of
I just did that mentally
to take
in my
out
nice.
So
a basketball
the
game.
game lasted way longer than it should have, and it started at 9:20 anyway. So by the time it was over, it was almost midnight.
It's past my bedtime.
Right, exactly. I clocked out. After they got fouled, things didn't get much better from there because they were combined 32 of 52 on free throws, which is just over 61%. That's not a good free throw percentage. There are guys in the NBA shooting 90, 95% on free throws. So the fact that they're making less than 2 out of 3 is not fun to watch, in addition to the fact that they're on the free throw line so often. Exactly. Joel Barrett, the tournament, he shot 4 of 13 from three-point land last night. The rest of the UNC team was 0 for 14. So as a team, they were 4 for 26.
They're usually a lot better than that.
Not uncharacteristically three-point shooting for Carolina last night, and they still won. This is Roy Williams' 3rd career championship. That passes Dean Smith. He wasn't a tie with Dean Smith with 2 championships. So this just further cements Roy Williams' legacy as a great coach. And what he's done with that UNC program since he came in from Kansas in the late 90s has just been spectacular. And then finally, my last note here about the game, the number of national championships held by teams in either North or South Carolina is a little bit higher than you might think. Obviously, we got football, baseball. Technically, Coastal Carolina is still recognized as national champions, even though we just started the 2017 season, so we'll have
nobody else has won yet. So.
Right, exactly. There hasn't been another that crown. Men's basketball and women's basketball, if you didn't tune in to the women's basketball national championship Sunday night, South Carolina did bring home the win because you don't beat UConn and then lose to South Carolina.
At least have the whole state covered with championships.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's something to be proud of.
If that's something you're into, I'd rather just see South Carolina lose than everything, but that's just me. Also, one sport that you probably don't know, that you don't pay attention to, Lord knows I don't because I'm not rich enough, but the men's and women's lacrosse national champions, both the UNC Tar Heels. It is currently lacrosse season, so again, we're going to have some new ones this year. But as of right now, the national champions in lacrosse, both men's and women's, are the UNC Tar Heels, and will be recognized as that until the end of the season.
Well, definitely a huge congratulations to the Tar Heels. That's quite an accomplishment.
Yeah, definitely.
As we know.
Right. As ugly as the game is, you still won the national championship. You didn't have Deshaun Watson throwing it to Hunter Renfrow with 1 second left on the clock to beat Alabama. But it says national champions on the banner just the same. So congrats to the Tar Heels
that
at
is
UNC.
True. Okay.
Amy's
a huge Duke fan.
This is a huge moment.
It's new. It's cute. I don't know. Yeah. Well, thanks for the baseball game tonight at 7 o'clock.
Go Tigers!